Myrtle Beach Speedway, a former classic. While its grandstands may now be gone in the real world, they in the circuit that has become beloved by many is still available to race at in the virtual one. Tonight, the BRL looks to add to its legacy at the 0.54-mile facility. Who will be the one to do so? We're about to find out on the Global SimRacing Channel. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the virtual Myrtle Beach Speedway for the 7th race of Season 6 for the Bootleg Racing League's Grand National Series. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside of the booth tonight is Devin Henry. Behind the scenes is our director, Ryan Bauer, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. A lot of big names made their names here at Racetrack. Let's learn more about Myrtle Beach Speedway with our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Myrtle Beach Speedway. Located in the heartland of NASCAR's core here in the southeastern United States, this track has seen countless legends from the oval racing scene duke it out. With the beautiful scenery of South Carolina as its backdrop, this half-mile oval has an unusual asymmetric D-shape. The 13-degree banking means that the low line tends to be preferred, but that has its own perils for those who like to flirt with the edge. Turns 1 and 2 feature prominent curbing that will knock loose any type of car that dares run over them. On the opposite side, turns 3 and 4 have the pit wall right at the bottom of the banking. Those who attempt to use the apron to help turn the car risk taking damage should they brush the concrete. Both the Petty and Earnhardt families have raced here for multiple generations, meaning those who show up to catch the Saturday night special might just see the next NASCAR legend kick off their career. While the Cup cars haven't visited for a few decades, late models and modified still regularly visit the place. All in all, you can't beat the beauty of the palm trees and a short trip to the beach, both of which are available to fans here at this historic track.
That's a look at your GSRC track guide for Myrtle Beach Speedway. Now let's bring my co-announcer for tonight in Devin Henry, as we're at a track which no longer operates in the real world as of the past couple of years. But it's a chance, as the sign said on the front of this property, to be a part of history tonight.
I feel like every race at Myrtle Beach, even in the sim world, it's a part of history. Some of these historic old tracks, just like in the sim world, in the real world, so much fun, so demanding, and so many ways where you kind of go back to the roots of racing. The focus on the throttle control, the focus on the driving line with this strange D-shaped, almost a tri-oval-like half mile here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And these corners at just 13 degrees of banking, it likes to trick you on corner entries. So many of these guys already tonight trying to judge, how do I enter turn number 1? You're already part turn, but you are going to see guys all night long overbake it into turn number 1, trying to find the edge without, of course, we'll talk, I'm sure, plenty about later on, hitting those dreaded turtles on the bottom of the track.
Those turtles definitely bring a lot of damage, especially with the new damage model for these machines. But so far, the point standings have been in control of James Lowe with a 19-point lead over Austin Belke entering the 7th race of the campaign. Jeffrey Harden comes into tonight with 25 points back, but there was an adjustment to that total. We'll get to that in a moment. That puts him in line with Justin Morton's total. Then Kurt Smith rounds out the top 5, 37 points back. That's in a tie with Joseph Segala as well in the standings. Now, let's take a look at your race details as we get ready to go racing once more for 100 laps, this time in the daytime.
And Justin, I don't know, somehow, some way, we are already into the second half of the season. It's starting to go into the make it or break it part of the schedule, starting here at Myrtle Beach. Just like every single week, 100 laps on a single set of tires. You cannot go in, go get 4 fresh Goodyear rubbers. The tires that you start with are the tires that you end this race with, and a huge part of how you succeed at these short tracks. If you do get into trouble, though, you do have that one faster pair. It happens at short tracks, and of course, no qualifying. Our grid is set from the finishing order of last week's race. If you didn't show up last week, you start in the tail of the field. And oh yeah, the top 8 from last week, they get inverted. So if you won, you're starting from P8 here tonight at Myrtle Beach, almost halfway through the field.
Now, the reason I mentioned that was now lined up in total with Jeffrey Harden and Justin Morton is because last race, Jeffrey Harden incurred two different penalties. First, a warning for turning down into an air car in the corner, then moving up into an air car in the corner, causing a incident. That lost him 5 championship points, and he will have to start at the end of longest line this race. Mike Allen, with a similar penalty, will also have to start at the back of the field for tonight, lost 5 points if he makes the start. In other words, 2 drivers having to serve penalties after what was a rock'em sock'em race last time.
And there were plenty of warnings as well. Southern National got the best of these guys. I think we talked about how deceiving that track is when it comes down to speed and corner entry. It's similar tonight with its deception when you go into turn 1. But nonetheless, I'd say it's maybe a little bit more tame because you don't have that banking to lean on. It almost feels wider in Southern National. I know it's not actually, but I feel like when you come to Myrtle Beach, you kind of have to calm down. You kind of sense, okay, the wall's so close in turn 3. The turtles are so close in 1 and 2. You really cannot go out and just blitz these corners like you could last week at a Southern National.
And keep in mind, let's take a look at your track conditions. It is fairly cool for tonight's race. It is iRacing Day, May 15, 2021. In sim time, just past 6 p.m. 78 degrees is the track temperature. A very cool and nice 69 degrees is your air temp. Partner quality skies. Winds currently gusting about 6 miles an hour to the northwest. So a lot of potential for grip on that racetrack with those cooler conditions. By the way, that's 25 degrees Celsius. Now moving up to 26 Celsius for the track conditions, 20 air temp.
Luckily, one less thing that these drivers have to face is that track temperature, because it's already tough enough going down the D-shaped front straightaway. To keep that car straight, trying to carry that momentum off the corner, not hit the wall. So many things go through your mind here at Myrtle Beach. You look back to last season, J.R. Shepard winning this race from the 8th position. Justin Morton started 14th. He was runner-up. And Kenny Kibbe, he started in the 13th position, brought it home in 3rd. Mark Herzog, he started 17th, brought it home in 5th. This is a track that pays you to be patient. Those drivers started in the back last season, were able to make their way all the way up into the top 5, although most notably were not involved in other people's messes. J.R. Shepard, Justin Morton, 0 incident points last season. So if you can have that patience, if you can have the maneuverability to stay away from those other issues that drivers are going to have tonight because of how complex this track is, you will be rewarded by maybe keeping off that gas pedal a little bit longer.
It just so happens that J.R. Shepard in the Different Path Motorsports machine is at the top of the practice chart, setting the fastest time moments ago in the 19.2s, the only driver to do so in session. Matthew Thunderhorse, Justin Morton, Reuben Altis, James Lowe, the top 5. And so far tonight, him and his organization having a successful evening. J.R. Shepard won the street stock race earlier tonight, while Austin Belke, his teammate, came away with the victory in the Tour Modifieds after leading 78 of 80 laps.
Good day for them and that team, of course, winning both the races today. When it comes to the Bootleg Racing League, they run a course of 6 races over 2 days. Last night, you could have saw the Dirt Street Stock Series live here on GSRC. We were able to have them host them, and also they have their truck series as well. So you do get 4 to 5 asphalt practices every weekend, but some of these drivers will go the full 6 races throughout the 2 days. J.R. Shepard does that a lot. We'll see Austin Belke do that a lot as well. But these past 2 races, it was right here at Myrtle Beach, the street stocks and the modifieds. You can't really take many lessons from those 2 races and take it into these Arca Menard Series Chevy Impalas, but you do get the experience of racing against these guys already for a multitude of laps earlier today. Gain a sense of the track, gain a sense of the tire wear. And when you look at Different Path and what they're able to do, I look at a guy like J.R. Shepard to go out and be the guy who's going to lead this field, try to pick up his 5th victory of the year. Only 2 other drivers have won a single race. And Austin Belke, I kind of see him as a sleeper. He needs a good finish tonight to keep up with James Lowe in the points.
Yeah, James Lowe had an up-and-down race last time out. For those who remember from last week, it was an intriguing race last week, to say the very least, because attrition was high. How do you feel tonight's going to fare out in terms of drivers trying to keep themselves clean? Because this is a track which is challenging and has been seen that way throughout the practice, but is also one which has a wide range of space and different lines you can run.
And that's the thing with the space. Can somebody make that outer lane work? Maybe not even necessarily as a passing zone, almost like we saw last week at Southern National, but just a way to fend off that guy to the inside. You have a lot more space here than at least what we've had the past few weeks when you look at South Boston and Southern National. So it's a little more spacious. It's not enough spacious. You can ride along here with James Lowe just how close they get to that inside wall. They're daring a mistake out of themselves, and then you come down here and you can't let that left front touch those dangerous turtles and try to keep up all that momentum. It's so easy to get ahead of yourself here and just blitz it too hard. But like I said earlier, Justin, patience gets rewarded at a track like this, but you still have to have the speed and you still have to have the tire conservation to make that work and not end up like we saw a lot of drivers at Southern National.
Very curious to see how drivers like Steven Spies do tonight, because good strong performance the last time out Devon for the 55 machine. In terms of performance, back on the circuit tonight, 6 on the practice charts, just outside the top 5 by a couple and hundreds.
I love watching Steven Spies. We saw him a lot in the Dirt Street Stock Series as well on Friday nights here on GSRC. And yeah, you talk about last week and his run at Southern National. It seems like for Steven, when he comes out and races the Grand National Series, it is either hit inside the top 5 or it is missed, getting caught up and some other mess going on. He started 18th last week, brought it up to the 4th position. Through that, only had 4 incident points as well. So it's fun to watch Steven work his way through the field, although luckily tonight he will start no worse than 5th. So I'm sure that he's going to enjoy being able to stay up front. Now he just has to remain up there throughout the night.
Now, as these drivers have 30 more seconds of practice, what else do you feel fans should keep in mind, especially with how this race could fare out for tonight?
I think when I look at a guy like Steven Spies or even Justin Morton, who right now is running 9th in practice, these are 2 guys who love to run the car to the limit, and it doesn't always help out. Not the right front I'm focusing on, but the right rear. And this is a track where you have that D-shaped oval, you have that little bit of a dog-legged-ish front straightaway. You're already turned into turn 1, and that can get you in trouble. You can slide out the rear end of that car. And so while those are 2 drivers who I know are fast, those are 2 drivers who need to watch out tonight and make sure that they don't run out of right rear tire. Otherwise, they're going to be playing on skates all night long for 100 laps.
Final practice is now wrapped up for tonight's Grand National Series event. Let's take a look at your starting grid for tonight's action. With the invert, it will be Todd Liston who will bring them to the green flag tonight alongside Jeffrey Harden. Keep in mind, Harden will have to go to the back of the field. That'll move up Steven Spies to the front row, where Lowell Jewell will currently start in 3rd position in that 2nd row, Spies in 4th. Matthew Thunhorst has showed some great speed in the series. He'll start in 5th tonight alongside Justin Morton. J.R. Shepard and James Lowe round out your top 8 in the inversion spots. Bruce Pearson starts in 9th. Ryan Seneca rounds out your top 10 this evening.
Austin Belk, he has a climb to make out, starting off in 11th alongside Kurt Smith. Our 2 favorite throwback drivers every week are in row 6. Chris Wolfson starts inside of row 7 alongside Reuben Altis. Joe Segala starts off in the 15th position next to Donnie Moore. And Adam Shane rounds out your 17-car field here at Myrtle Beach Speedway.
All the drivers have made their way to the starting grid for tonight's action. The track temperature has cooled off as the sun has started to set at the facility to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Our temp down to 68, still partly cloudy skies. In-sim time has advanced its way to 8:01 p.m. As the drivers now make their way onto the racetrack, and Harding now gets Avendus longest line penalty as a result of his 2 penalties from the last race. Your keys to victory for tonight.
First and foremost, we talked about it already, have that patience. Wait to make that move. Wait for the right moment. Relax your right front tire. Don't overdo it, because that right front will be a necessary thing to have once we get into the final third of this race. Also, one thing I'm looking at, Justin, is the wind speed. It is constantly over 10 miles per hour and is changing between about 15 and 7. So will this wind mess up some of these drivers as they enter turn 1 or as they try to go down the back straightaway and make a move? Those are one thing as a sim driver you have to have in mind. You can't feel the wind, you can't see the wind, but it will affect your car, even if it's just a little bit here on these little half miles.
Of note, Donnie Moore did not make it to the starting grid, so he was scheduled for 16th. Likely will have to start from the pit lane. With that, 16 drivers all lined up, 2 by 2, ready to go from Myrtle Beach Speedway. Todd Liston in control of the field. Green flag waits up on the stand. We're underway from Myrtle Beach.
Phenomenal jump by Steven Speeds, keeping it door to door here out of turn number 2. The black number 55 with a burst of momentum battling with the lead right now.
Side by side still for the race lead as Liston trying to hold it to the bottom, but Speeds able to have the momentum at the stripe, gets the lead lap by 4/1000ths of a second. Seneca up into the wall. Caution flag is out for the first time tonight.
That was almost a wee bit dicey. We talked about it pre-race. Some drivers are going to be pushing the limit going into turn 1, and that includes especially when you're using that outside lane. You want to carry all of that momentum possible, and right here, Ryan Seneca in the white and blue number 61 had a little bit too much throttle, a little bit too much speed still in it, and that rear end just loves to go right around in the corner. Your first casualty tonight.
So Ryan Seneca ends up bringing the first caution flag of the race out onto the circuit. Let's take a look at the Gsrc replay of what exactly happened. It'll be on the entrance of 1 and 2 that you're referring to, where he's trying to run the second group since he's in the midst of battling with Kurt Smith before he ends up going around to the outside and essentially using the wall to save it from fully going around.
The way he flies up towards the wall, I am surprised that that rear bumper isn't completely scrunched. He did a good job minimizing the damage there. Unfortunately, he will have to slide back to that 16th position, tail end of the field, but he might have had to use a fast repair if he did not save that car as well as he did. A good job there to keep it out of the wall at least a little bit.
Justin Morton was ready to take away second spot too, just as that caution flag flew. And Todd Liston was scored your race leader with the yellow flag. James Lowe gained 2 positions off that start. Kurt Smith 4 positions. Reuben Altis, one of the top drivers in practice, with 5. Adam Shane gained 6 positions in the span of just a couple laps in the 65. And Shane, keep in mind, has showed some good speed, just hasn't had the luck this season in the 65.
Now, I know that the outside was going to potentially be at least viable for this race, but I was really surprised at how well these first few lanes were actually able to use it. I thought Steven Speeds was going to have a chance to take the lead with how great of a jump that he got off the starting blocks there. And even Justin Morton able to keep up with Lowell Joel and actually now has the ability to start on the inside here on this upcoming restart. I'm going to wonder if later in the race, once that maybe rubbers down, once the tires kind of wear out, will that not only be usable, but can that turn into a nearly preferred line based on how you wear out the tires with just how cool these temperatures are?
Yeah, Speeds is actually trying to warm up the tires a little bit on that outside groove, as we're expecting the one to go signal this upcoming time by to reset your field. This restart coming up to 94 to go. This time by, it's Liston, Speeds, Morton, and Jewell, Thunhorst and Lowe, Shepard and Smith, Altis and Pearson, your top 10. As the lights are now extinguished on the iRacing pace car. And that pace car driver apparently now has a name. You've heard of Barney the Flagman. I believe the name that's now floating around is Bernie, if I remember correctly, for that pace car driver. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm cool with it. Bernie and Barney. And they might be brothers.
Possibly. Either way, Liston now has that pace car off the racetrack. Green flag is out, off and away, and Speeds with a great restart on the high side, ready to pounce for the race lead. Justin Morton already ready to pounce for that race lead as well.
I mean, Speeds almost had a nose going into turn number 1. That black number 55 is on a mission. Steven Speeds with an opportunity to take away this lead. Lowell Joel right now is behind him in that white number 19. He's trying to fend off the 8 of Matthew Thunhorst behind him. This outside lane looks doable for a couple of drivers, but everyone else in the field has had to give up positions to get back to that lower line. The 55 is not giving an inch.
He sees an opportunity to lead some laps. He takes the opportunity to lead that time by at the stripe. 90 to go this upcoming time by. Lowell Jewell, the fastest car on the track last time by, as the 87 of Liston has to save it. Spees jumps up to the point solo. Jewell now jumps up to second. The boss man going for it.
How about the perseverance out of the 55 and now trying to extend that lead. Lowell Jewell now taking over the second position. Cannot get in front of the 87 in time though. But look who's behind the number 87 of Todd Liston. There's that red and white number 9, Justin Morton, who we knew was going to be fast coming into this. The 98, J.R. Shepherd, 43 wins in this series. No one else has double-digit wins in the Grand National Series. And James Lowe, you know he wants to have a good night tonight and extend that points lead as Liston gets out of shape and they're 3 wide.
How will this fare out into turn 3? It fares out poorly. Thunhorse gets hit by Liston. Caution flag is out.
That's very unfortunate there. I mean, I never like to be in the middle of 3 wide, and that is exactly the situation that Todd Liston was really forced into, and he was not going to be able to check up because he had J.R. Shepherd right on his rear bumper. And you saw the car get out of shape and snap there. And that's just, when you go into a corner like this, you don't know how to go into a corner 3 wide at a half mile typically. So I think that this was trial and error here. See the car in the middle, that's Liston. The 8 comes down a little bit. He tries to get lower and the car snaps on a correction there. I hate to see that because I know that when I'm the guy in the middle of 3 wide, that's typically me as well.
And the tough break too there, Devin. As soon as he got rolling, he got hit a second time and now has to come down to the faster pair since he now has front nose damage and has overran his pit box in the 8 machine. So Thunhorse now with some damage repair, but Spees and Jewell now are 1-2. How about the boss man having a great start to this race?
Yeah, gotta love the boss man going up here, working it out. Lowell Jewell, according to my most recent bio sheet, the 55-year-old, who of course is a former NASCAR media photography member with onpitroad.com and National Motorsports Network. He's a guy who has been around the racing world for so many years, been a great promoter of this series and leader of the Bootleg Racing League. And now with Healing Waters and Stone River on that machine, up to P2 right now. Man, he is looking sporty on that outside lane, and he's going to have the opportunity to restart there here once we go back green.
He averaged a 14th place finish entering tonight this season, but has been inside the top 10 in the point standings much of the campaign, entering tonight with 163 total and 8. Also give credit as well to J.R. Shepherd. Where have we seen that before, making his way inside the top 4 already?
If I had a nickel for every time that J.R. Shepherd went from outside the top 5 to win the race, I don't know, Justin, how many races have we done? I'd have a nickel for basically every single one of those races. So it's not much. I can buy some bubblegum, though, courtesy of J.R. Shepherd. But you know when he comes up and shows up that he is going to be the guy to beat when it comes to saving that right front tire. And you could see him during those opening laps just stalking everybody. He has the ability to just sit back, watch, and he flips the switch when he knows it needs to be turned on. Typically, he's the guy who outlasts everybody else in the field.
Quick question. The math shows that would be, you said a nickel, correct? So that would be 30 cents. Since we're 7 races in, we've completed 6. Where do you find bubblegum for 30 cents?
I'm going for like, what, I think we started doing this like season 2. I'm going all the way back then. And I think that I might still be able to get like some Hubba Bubba maybe, at best.
I believe that would actually count, as there was a bit of a scrape, I believe, amongst your top drivers on the top row. After a bit of a checkup between Jewell and Shepherd, poor launch on the top line as a result. Justin Morton takes advantage and moves up the second. James Lowe with a chance to move to third.
Lowe in that red number 99 to the inside of the boss man, Lowell Jewell, and right behind him on that rear bumper, nearly tagging the inside wall is J.R. Shepherd, flirting with disaster through 3 and 4. But you know that's where sometimes that 98 car is most comfortable, right next to disaster.
J.R. Shepherd looks to make the move and does now on Jewell, and Lowell Jewell now starting to go backwards. Look who's going forwards though. It's the 65 who is up there. as the race lead is on Justin Morton and Watson for the 55, as we see from Shane.
From South Carolina, this is kind of like a home race here at Myrtle Beach for him in the virtual world as Lil Jewel gets out of shape in that outside lane. Kurt Smith pushes up the track and they make a smidge bit of contact. The 19 going backwards, unfortunately, after a phenomenal start. Meanwhile, everyone out in front, for the most part, lining all up. But man, the 9 car's right on the rear bumper of Steven Speeds.
Morton now trying a bit of a higher line to arc it on into the corner to try and fight with Speeds. We're already a fifth of the way through the action so far. James Lowe is also creeping on forward. But back to that 65, he's inside the top 5. And one of the quickest cars on the racetrack, 19.505 last time by. This now makes it a 5-car scrap potentially for the race lead.
All lined up in a row. Meanwhile, trying to fight his way back from that last incident, Matt Dunhorse is using the outside lane, just got by Joe Segala and has slid into the 11th position. Segala loose in 1 and 2. Able to save it though, a little bit of contact with the inside wall. We stay green. The 8 car continues his trek through the field.
So the 81 machine goes over top the Turtles while getting loose. As the caution is out, it's the boss man, Lil Jewel, who was inside the top 7 before contact, and help from Chris Wolfson brings him around, as you'll see on the GSRC replay.
This is 2 guys gunning for the same real estate. It takes just that little bit of a push in the center of the corner. And Lil Jewel tried to slow things down, and for the second time tonight, a big hit for the 8 of Matt Dunhorse. First, let's ride on board here with Reuben Altis in the number 11 machine. This happens right in front of him. The 17 just a little bit too high to the corner. That minor contact is all it takes. Thread the needle, baby. Somehow, some way, Altis makes it through.
And as a result, up to the 7th position after being one of the quickest drivers in practice. Let's take a look from Dunhorse, though, as he got manual damage repairs last time under caution. This is going to be a bit more further of damage because of that.
You hate to use your fast repair quarter of the way through a race, but if he doesn't, he's going to have to start paying that virtual pit crew overtime because of how much work they'll be doing on that car. Dunhorse has the unlucky horseshoe so far tonight, and it's only a quarter of the way through the race.
And this would be his roughest race so far when considering things, Devin, because he's had a strong start in this series. Of course, came away with a victory to start things off at 5 Flags, then was very competitive with a back-and-forth, side-by-side finish at South Boston. Did all right at Southern National, and now is at the back of the field tonight here at Myrtle Beach.
And this is one of those days, I feel like maybe not every season, but our top competitors find trouble somehow at least once per season and have to find a way to overcome that adversity. Matt Dunhorse, from the second that he entered this league midway through the year, he's shown that he can be one of the best drivers here, and apparently today is his recruitment day. He's going to have to find a way to come back from 2 insane kinds of wrecks. Once again, back to 15th, and time's ticking away, but I tell you what, I think that he used the outside more productively than anyone else that I've seen so far tonight.
Keep in mind, he has used the fast repair. That's going to be the one disadvantage he's going to have now, back in the 15th position. By the way, Donnie Moore did not take the green flag, it appears, so 16 drivers indeed are still running on the circuit, all of them on the lead lap. Now, the interesting thing is when the lights go out here, Justin Morton will get the chance to restart on the outside, and he has been a man on a mission tonight. Morton's been fairly quick here at this track in the past and is looking to try and battle for this race lead with the 55.
Justin loves to rip the lip, and on an asphalt short track, that's not really the same thing as a dirt track, but this kid in his mid-20s, we've seen the St. Louis boy really rip his car around. I wouldn't be surprised in the slides if he can make that outside lane work just like Steven Speeds did earlier today.
Absolutely. I'm curious to see how this is going to play out here, especially since you have James Lowe and J.R. Shepard right behind them. And don't forget about Adam Shane and Kurt Smith, who is up in 6th position in the number 6. As the iRacing pace car is off, both drivers up at the front of the field ready to go. Speeds in control of the field. Green flag is out. Off and away we go, and a good restart by the 55.
Can't ask for much more there right out front. Lowe now door to door with J.R. Shepherd battling for that third position. Right on the rear bumper of Speeds. Morton's not really given much room at all. He's going to lose a little bit of that rear end. I think Shepherd had to check up, but still has enough room to be in front of the 99 here.
Kurt Smith keeping the pressure up as well. He's J.R. Shepherd now. You see from on board, trying to keep up with the top runners so far. Mining talked about this is a track that can have its difficulties, Shepherd said in his direction, but it's Spees who continues to have the race go his way so far, just past a quarter of the way through. Morton, though, not letting up the pressure at all, has been near bumper to bumper with the race leader every corner apex.
68 to go, this time by. On board here with your second place runner, Justin Morton. You can see he's kind of working that wheel a little bit, coming down this D-shaped front straightaway, and a little bit lower than the 55 as well. This is a fixed setup series, and so everyone has the same setup, but everyone wears out these tires differently. So you're going to see these lines continue to change throughout the rest of the night, as now we're at the third of a way mark.
Keep in mind, drivers have the ability to adjust only a couple different things when it comes to fixed setups: the steering ratio, offset, brake bias to their preferences. The rest you have to try and tailor your racing style to how the setup drives. Preparation is very critical as a result for some of these races. Still, the top three bumper to bumper have pulled away from James Lowe and company. Back Lowe now joining the fray with Shane right on behind by a couple car lengths. Reuben Altis and Kurt Smith are trading paint though for sixth position.
These two have not separated since that restart. And finally, I think with that contact, Altis gets a nose, but how much he has to check up for that corner is really hurting that 11. Smith kind of misses corner entry that time though. Still on the quarter panel. These guys have been side by side since the drop of that green flag again. Back up front though, that 98 car is scaring me, Justin. J.R. Shepherd is so low in both of those corners on exit and in the center. This is not something that I'd be comfortable enough doing, but we know JR is more than capable of this. On board here, look at how close he's going to get to this inside wall.
Thing is, the lead has changed hands because Steven Spees scraped the wall as we were showing you that battle, and immediately Morton took advantage to take away the spot, so Spees is back in second position, and now Shepherd looks to try and scrap for that second spot, going to the high side to try and get the job done.
Looks like he's trying to diamond the corner almost. You go in high, you come out low, and if you can time that correctly, look at how high the 98 is. He's almost 2 car widths up the track. The goal here is enough momentum through the first half of the corner. If you can get off lower than the guy in front of you.
Chris Wolfson, and he has gone into the inside wall from 7th position. The front nose sheared off his machine as we're back under caution after he spun it around, coming onto the back straight away.
The white and orange number 17 here might just had a little bit too much throttle on corner exit. You see the black smoke there. That engine is expired. He's going to have to tow and use that quick repair, go multiple laps down. Battling here with Kurt Smith coming off of turn number 2. But when you're on the inside, you're just trying to fight back that momentum that the orange, I can't read, I can't speak anymore apparently. You're just trying to match the momentum that the car on the outside has. And for Wilson, the Pittsburgh Middle School principal, just try to get him on the gas a little bit too soon there. It doesn't work out for him.
So Chris Wolfson likely going to have to use a fast repair with the blown motor. And now, as we approach halfway, these drivers now look to reset as Morton, your race leader, over Spees, J.R. Shepherd, James Lowe, and Adam Shane, your top 5. And for Spees, it's a rough moment where one mistake cost you the race lead.
And that is where now I think Spees is going to regret that, but he does get to restart on the outside. If he has a good launch here, he can try to get that lead back with how the outside has been faring to a select few drivers. Obviously, he's going to be kicking himself for that mistake, but when you're coming back to the screen, you just have to get that out of your head. You have an optimal opportunity here to go back and retake the lead. So whatever happened before, throw it away. and go back up front, go retake the lead.
It's going to be a difficult task, yes, but it's going to be one where Spees has done it on the high side before for passes. Can he do it against Morton? It's going to be the big question. Also, keep in mind that right now, among the drivers that need championship points, Austin Belke has only been able to get himself up to 9th position, Devin, in this race. He has had a hard time breaking to the inversion spots. He's actually been passed by Matthew Thunhorst as well prior to that caution flag.
Thunhorst making up some room, and Belke might want to go and follow him, winning the modified race just prior to this event here for the Grand National cars. And like you said, been kind of stuck. He has Liston beside him, who started up front during this race, so there's at least a spot there that he might be able to get on the restart. But that Jeff Gordon throwback, seen better days.
One to go signal this time by. Again, it's Morton and Spees, Shepard and Lowe, Shane and Altis, Kurt Smith and Thunhorst, Belke and Todd Liston, who started on the pole, is all the way back in the 10th position. iRacing pace car is off once more, 56 to go, this time by Myrtle Beach Speedway. Going on board with Shepard as the green flag waves, and a lot of tire spin that time for the 98, and the caution's already on as Adam Shane has gone around on the 65.
The 98 had a lot of tire spin. If you want to know how much more it takes to spin the car around, just watch the car behind him. The 65 of Adam Shane, he had tire spin too, and it was lethal. The black number 65 here right behind JR Shepard. You'll see both these cars take off, and the rear end shakes around, and then he gone. And then you get that right there. That's not going to help.
I believe that's Bruce Pearson who ended up getting to the back end of him, as what's followed on board with Austin Belke, who had a couple cars ahead as this all happened. Just dodges him as it goes on to the left, and they collide behind him.
And I think everyone just saw what happened to JR and Adam, and they're writing down notes. Okay, I'm going to be careful on this next restart, because obviously the rear tires on some of these cars are not very happy, especially when you see a car like the 98 have to go through that as well. Although I am going to be a little bit concerned if I'm the front of this field, if you're Steven Speeds and Justin Morton, because JR Shepard just made a mistake on the restart. He was going to lose time. Well, guess what? He gets to go exactly back to where he was. And on top of that, he now knows what not to do. So if the 98 sticks on the rear bumper of the 9, all you're doing is going, ah, man, I would have had him on the last restart, but now he knows how to fix his mistake.
Indeed. We'll see how this plays out. By the way, Pearson and Shane both come down the pit lane. Pearson manual damage repairs. Shane also reattaching the front bumper to his 65 with manual damage repair. They'll be 15th, 16th for the restart coming up as a result of this incident. But as we approach halfway, your thoughts on how this race has played out so far, Devin? Because it's been intriguing with multiple different race leaders so far.
And I think when you look back at every caution for incident that we've had, it has been one small error. And that is all it has taken to force these drivers to suddenly start driving awry on the track. And it's just been these isolated incidents. I think that once these drivers start to figure things out as the tires wear out and this track continues to cool down with the sun continuing to fall, these drivers are going to start figuring out different lines to utilize. We've already seen JR Shepard start to diamond off the tail end of the corner to try to get under the 55 of Steven Speeds. As these tires evolve, so will the lines that these drivers are using. And someone who we haven't talked a lot about is the Virginia driver, Reuben Altis, up to the 5th position after that incident. And the number 11, he's had a quiet day, but it's been a successful day so far.
Indeed, Reuben Altis was very quick in practice. Had one of the quickest hot lap times at one point. Was 3rd quickest overall in a tie with Justin Morton. Now, inside the top 5 of +9 in race trim. Morton and Speeds, though, ready to go in the front row this time. 51 laps to go. How will this restart fare out? Morton stacks the box, off and away they go. Green flag is back out, and a great launch by Morton and a greater launch by Shepard.
And Steven Spies knows, man, he figured it out this time. Now I got to try to fend off the best driver in this series, looking for win number 44 as they collide into 3.
Caution is out. Altis also collected and hit by several more cars as a two-faceted crash ends up collecting several as we're back under the yellow flag at the halfway mark.
Well, that changes a little bit of everything. Watch back on our Gsrc replay machine. Boy, I can't really tell what happened there. Maybe someone went up, someone went down. I know that JR maybe didn't take the line that he had been running the past few laps, but still on board here with Reuben Altis, who's going to get arguably one of the worst parts of this. Shepard is a little high. I mean, that's just one thing where maybe you don't have a spotter. I mean, it's two guys trying to be in the same place at once. There's not really a lot of blame to be placed there.
Let's follow along with Lowell Jewell and see from his perspective in all of this. And Jewell was already getting loose coming out of turn 2, and then this to try and dodge.
Oh, and he had it too. There's the window. I'm a break through. And then a car breaks into you. And that's how quickly it goes here in not just sim racing, but real world racing as well. That's just how fast it is. Aerial view of what happens here with the rest of the field. You see the smoke, everyone bunches up. And you see the one car go by unscathed, and then the 19 is there to be collected into the junkyard.
See now from Bliston as he ended up getting collected into this incident in the checkup aftermath along that bottom of the racetrack. And right there is where he gets hit, nearly gets hit a second time by Wolfson. And as a result, he, Spies, Altis have all come in to get repairs done and or a fast repair under this caution flag, which now brings us past the halfway point. So the attrition's starting to really build up.
I'm trying to watch it back one more time, and I think maybe Spies just, with the steering wheel, he cranks it just a little bit. He just kind of sets up his corner, and the 98 hadn't started to set his corner up yet there. I hate to say it because I know that this is going to end terribly for Steven Spies having to slide back in the pack. I think that's just a racing deal. I know no one on iRacing's community boards like to come to that conclusion. And it's always going to be someone's fault, right? But no, unfortunately, I think that's just a racing thing there. Two guys who had two very different entries into the corner there. And unfortunately for Steven Spies, that might be the end of a very, very successful looking day for him.
See how Spies tries to recover in what's been now a rough middle portion of the race for him. But for now, it's Justin Morton and J.R. Shepard now battling for the lead. Coming off to the restart, James Lowe, Kurt Smith, Matthew Thunhorse with a good recovery to 5th. Austin Belke now to 6th. Hardin and Segala among your top 8 positions, rather. Green flag is out, off and away. Morton with an early launch this time.
A great job by the 9 mixing up his restarts and is able to once again set a little bit of a gap, but J.R. Shepard reels him in immediately off of 2.
Shepard now going for the diamond now to try and make the move as Morton starting to really shake around with that steering wheel. Opens up the door for Shepard, slams it back shut. This is out. Oh wow, Matthew Thunhorst is now clearing on by Kurt Smith for 4th position right behind him.
On board with the driver, the number 8, Matthew Thunhorst, back up to the 4th position after a very early race incident and then had to use his fast repair at about lap 25. You see your top 5 right there. Kurt Smith slides up the track, loses it a little bit, got saved by the 24 car. No caution here. Everyone is able to keep it straight. Meanwhile, Shepard has that little bit of notice here on the 9s. They're door to door down the front straight.
Side by side, Shepard now dives it in. He's now one of the quickest cars on the track as Shepard tries to clear on by with the different path motorsports machine. It's been a dominant season once more for Shepard. He looks to try and get to the race lead and try and add another victory to his cabinet. Morton trying to win for the first time in a long while in this series. Morton leads that time by Still 41 to go, coming to 40 this time by, and Shepard not giving it up, sees his opportunity to pounce right here.
The top four have sailed away, and right now, if you're both Dunhorse and Lowe, you're just going to sit back and watch, because you never know what lane is going to prevail here when it comes to these two stuck door to door for this battle for the lead. Dunhorse will take a look on the outside. We'll go 2 by 2 here for the top four.
2 by 2 as Dunhorse late breaks it in to be able to get side by side with Lowe. How will the battles fare out is the big question. Shepard trying to get the bottom line to work. Dunhorse thinks the top line's going to prevail, trying to get by Lowe. Gives the squeeze now to the 99 in the battle for third position. Matthew Dunhorse now goes single file as they still stay side by side for the lead.
That could not have went better for Dunhorse because he made his bet. He was stuck on that outside lane. If the 9 had to slide back, he was going to lose his position as well. It works out though, and now watching the leaders go back to racing, these guys will not give up an inch, and that might be a worry for these guys later on in the race with that right front tire. We'll see what this battle does to this top four.
It's been a great battle up front so far. Dunhorse waiting for his opportunity to pounce into the battle. Shepard still being able to wheel things. The question is, how will the tires fare with this battle? Well, Shepard shows he's starting to get loose. A bit of a bobble, loses a momentum for 3 and 4, and Dunhorse is now side by side for second.
Dunhorse is in that dangerous zone where you see that hole down the middle. He's not going to take it 3 wide here at this half-mile Myrtle Beach. But you're just kind of trying to run the line that's going to conserve you the most tires while not get forced into a mistake with James Lowe, who's still right up on the rear bumper. Dunhorse not going to give an inch. He wants to stay in that third position, but still knows that he has to be at least somewhat conservative to make the move once someone makes a pass here.
That's the key word. Somebody has to make a move eventually to clear on by. They've been running side by side for nearly 10 laps. Morton has continuously kept up that top line. Shepard continuously working the bottom of the racetrack. As James Lowe continues to watch on from behind, he prefers to roll it on the bottom right next to those turtles in turn 1 and 2.
And this battle is between 4 of only 6 all-time winners through now 6 seasons of competition. J.R. Shepard has 43 wins to his credit in this series. Morton has 2. Dunhorse is the most recent first-time winner in the series, winning at South Boston this season, and James Lowe has the second most wins ever at 9. But this year, Lowe knows that this could be a championship season, so he might just be trying to relax here. He knows he wants to pick up a good finish over the rest of the field. Now it's just about picking his places to make a move. Again, once these two up front decide where they want to go to dinner tonight, because right now, they're just talking to each other out the window nets right now. As Liston had himself an issue on the front straightaway, but we stay green.
He's back and rolling now in turns 1 and 2. Morton, meanwhile, leads at the start and finish line just barely by a couple 100ths. Dunhorse now back to single file. Lowe trying to get back towards the quarter panel as he's seen Liston now is pulled off the racetrack. Still coming up to 30 laps to go. And what's been an epic battle, one of the closest battles this season between drivers for the race lead, as Shepard starting to get the advantage now to roll on the bottom, tries to clear off a turn 2. Morton keeps the quarter panel.
I am flabbergasted that these two have been able to keep up this door-to-door battle for so long. And in the midst of this, Austin Belkey has closed the gap with Jeffrey Harden behind him. It's not a monumental gain by those two, but they have certainly separated themselves from the rest of the field, and they got themselves dinner and a show right now.
Belkey last time by was a couple 100ths quicker than James Lowe, but 2 of the 3 quickest times were among your top 3. That time by Austin Belkey picks up the pace a little bit more with the side-by-side by a couple more 100ths. Still, as Matthew Dunhorse is back within the fight, he's back to the quarter panel of J.R. Shepard as the top line starting to reveal a little bit more. Morton trying to clear on by in turn 1 this time. Can he complete it? No. Shepard again keeps it to the quarter panel and keeps it side-by-side for now. Morton still cannot clear on by.
I think the 98 is starting to push in part of the corner that is hurting his corner exit. He's not able to hug that bottom on exit like he used to. The 9 has a little bit of room, still can't clear. I think that 98's tires are finally giving out. That was my question watching this. Is the outside lane tire going to give up or the inside lane tire going to give up? They can't run like this for 25 more laps.
And Shepard's starting to get loose. Morton looking to finally clear on by after 15 plus laps of side by side. Just about cleared it, but Shepard continues to charge that apex. Morton, though, with the pull down the back straightaway, finally clear. Here comes Thunhorse now through the open hole.
The 9 not out of the woods yet, able to use that momentum, and he is finally clear of the 98 machine. And now what you want to see is the mask go up and you sail away as these two now almost rub fenders for the battle for second. I don't know if the 98 will be able to hold off Thunhorse because of how easy the 9 eventually went by. Thunhorse has been running great laps on the outside.
And Lowe's now picked up on this. He's now moving to the high side as well. Now it's 3 cars trying to utilize the top, make it back 2 for the corner exit. And right now, 1 to 2 trying to utilize the bottom of the racetrack, depending on where the positioning is. But Shepard drops back to 3rd. Thunhorst up to 2nd. The separation now 0.3 of a second with 22 laps to go.
The 98 could have slowed down that front straightaway. Really not even slow down, just get into line. He will down the back straightaway. He didn't want to give it up. Maybe the 98 knows something that I don't. It wouldn't be the first time or the last time J.R. Shepard knows things about these cars that I don't, because he's one of the best at it, especially in this league. I'm curious if he has anything left in the tank to make a run back. I just have to think that that wore this car out, having to fight being pinched on the bottom for so many consecutive laps. 20 laps to do something now if J.R. Shepard has anything left in the tank.
One of the hardest fought battles we've seen from this season from any driver in this campaign. 15 to 20 laps side by side. By the way, Adam Shane is currently in the pole position for next week if this thing holds in terms of the positions with the inversion spots. So a decent recovery for the 65 after his issues as we look back to the front.
Well, Adam had such a miraculous push through the field. Got himself all the way towards the top 5 after starting 17th. And now he's going, yeah, of course now there's not a caution. Now that I'm starting to come back through the field. And it's still right now as we stand your Gsrc hard charger of the day. Still trying to fight back though. We'll see how many more positions he can get if he doesn't get a caution. Meanwhile, the 8 of Matt Thunhorse, who was able just to sit back and watch that battle for the lead. These two are starting to pull away from Shepard and Lowe. What does Thunhorse have left that he might be able to get a run here at the 9 machine?
How about 7 100s quicker last time by as he drifts it off at turn 2 a little bit off the back tires. Thunhorse getting a little bit squirrely now, trying to keep up with the 9 machine. Remember, Morton at times struggled on the long run in this series last year, has been getting better and better on these long runs, and the perseverance and the improvement starting to pay off. Coming up to 15 laps to go. Morton and Thunhorse are the 2 quickest cars now on the racetrack.
Thunhorse takes a peek to the inside, almost running that line that J.R. Shepard was running earlier. But you saw Thunhorse a couple laps ago slide it through the middle of the corner. Every slide that you make will be detrimental to your cause because that is going to heat up your tires just a little bit more. But even that minuscule of a degree is going to add up and multiply. These tires will not cool back down unless you get a caution or drive it through the front straightaway grass. You need to have a cooler tire than someone in front of you, and a slide like that is only going to make things 10 times worse as this race goes on.
Thunhorse still continuing to try and wheel his way up there. Lap traffic is ahead, by the way, in Kurt Smith. And that will be likely the only traffic they potentially reach in time for the closing stages. We'll see if that plays a factor in the closing 12 laps of this one. As Morton is definitely starting to set sail. James Lowe is also up in the pace. By the way, the battle going on for now 8th position as a new challenger. Check that for 7th position. It's Spees who has taken away his spot from Segala.
Adam Shane now to 7th. Steven Spees in next week's provisional pole, the 8th position right now. Segala attempting to fight back here and get himself into P8. That would be the pole for next week. Now the battle for 3rd. Off the rear bumper here, J.R. Shepard James Lowe wants that extra point on Austin Belke. He knows that 24 is the next car behind him, and he goes, I don't want to gain just 1 point on Austin Belke tonight. I want to gain as many as I can as we get to the tail end of the season.
James Lowe keeping the pressure up, has been running times comparable to Justin Morton at the very front of the field. They've done a great job in keeping it toe-to-toe for 10 laps to go, that time by the flag stand. Can Lowe get side by side with Shepard's the big question. Now, over the back bumper of the 98 machine. Bit of a slip and slide once more for Shepard coming out of the corner. As the traffic is ahead, Kurt Smith moves up to the high side and out of the way of the race leaders.
Will not be a problem here on corner exit for any of these 4 drivers. And it has been miraculous just how close these drivers have been able to run. Under 10 laps to go. One thing that a lot of drivers don't think of, it's one thing to save your tires. You spend almost a whole race conserving sometimes to have those tires left. But you need to find that point. When do I need to use these tires to their maximum? You saved them for a reason. When is the time to go 100% of whatever you got left? Try to gain every second that you can.
James Lowe thought about trying to send that 100% to the inside line of Shepard. Now trying to get the run out of turn 2 to try and do so. Can't quite get there though, coming to 6 laps to go this time by. Top 4 have all calmed things down after that fierce battle. And what an incredible battle that was. Have to say that was the battle of the season. The question is, does anyone have anything in the tank left to try and get side by side, whether it's Lowe or whether it's Thunhorst, who both got shuffled about and tried different lines in that scrap.
And this top 2 has really separated themselves from JR and James. But the big picture here is how Justin Morton has accumulated nearly a half-second advantage over Matthew Thunhorst. If he can just continue to run at this pace, it won't be a question of if Justin Morton can win this race. He just has to make sure that he can maintain this tempo and maintain this gap here coming to 4 laps to go.
4 laps to go that time by the flag stand indeed, as Morton looking for what would be his first win of the season. At what would be a huge night for the championship. He came into this evening 30 points behind James Lowe. Chance to close up some of those points now. If he can hold on to where he's at for 3 more laps, and this would be a huge victory for him. Remember Martinsville last year, where it was very competitive. Now in a big opportunity here would be the 3rd career Grand National Series victory if he can hold on for 2 more laps as they battle behind him.
This is for the pole next week. This is a meaningful spot. The difference between finishing 8th tonight and finishing 9th is starting 1st next week and starting 9th next week. So even though this is 1 position on the track, it's worth 9 positions next week.
Going to be very valuable. Speeds has taken that spot, but for Justin Morton, he'll take the white flag this time by, and what's been an incredible race from Myrtle Beach. It took clawing and scratching and mistakes from Steven Speeds to find his way to the point, but for the 3rd time in his BRL Grand National Series career, Justin Morton will come out of turn 4 and win, taking the checkered at Myrtle Beach. Matthew Thunhorst 2nd, just J.R. Shepard in 3rd, James Lowe and Austin Belke round out what was a competitive top 5 tonight.
And I think you said it, Justin. That was the battle of the season. And I would have to go back and look, because I think it's either between J.R. Shepard's and Matthew Thunhorst's battle at South Boston 2 weeks ago, and between that battle that we just saw today, for maybe the top battle in the Grand National Series history through 6 seasons now.
Justin Morton now burns things down as we'll take a quick break. Post-race coverage coming up in just a few moments. You're watching the Global SimRacing Channel for coverage of the BRL's Grand National Series.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12-Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to GSRC's coverage of the BRL's Grand National Series at the virtual Myrtle Beach Speedway, and what was a competitive one to say the very least. How about a battle lasting for 15-20 laps straight of side-by-side action, with Justin Morton prevailing in the end by 0.7 of a second over Matthew Thunhorst. J.R. Shepard rounded out the top three. He was one of the drivers fighting hard on the bottom of the racetrack with Morton for that race lead for several laps. James Lowe rounded out the top four with Austin Belke in 5th position after starting in 11th. Jeffrey Harden recovered from an EOL penalty to go to 6th position. Spees recovered from being spun around to 7th spot. Adam Shane recovered from some hard hits to finish in 8th in the final inversion spot. Joe Sagawa, Reuben Altis rounded out your top 10.
And some tough luck for all of these guys. Chris Wilson brings it home in 11th, Ryan Seneker in 12th. The 13th position goes to Bruce Pearson, followed by Kurt Smith, Todd Liston, Lowell Jewell, and Donnie Moore. Your 17-car field here at Myrtle Beach Speedway.
In the end, it's Justin Morton who gets the chance to celebrate third time in his career that he comes away with the checker flag in the first in a long while. Justin Morton, congratulations on the victory. How are you feeling about taking home this checker flag?
Yeah, I feel pretty stoked after that one, after battling JR for I don't know how many laps. I was just zoned in and just lost track of the laps, and oh man, that was a great race.
I was about to ask, what was that battle like? Because that's some of the hardest fought battling we've seen all season, side by side for several laps. You on the high side, Shepard on the bottom, and don't forget about Matthew Thunhorst, who was keeping the pressure up behind you.
Yeah, Matt was right behind me, and we were in Discord talking to each other, and he said I was not running JR hard enough, but I don't know, in the end it worked out. That was a blast.
It definitely looked like a blast, and of course, now we're in the second half of the season. How would you describe your campaign now that we're entering the home stretch with Lanier coming up, Martinsville, Irwindale, and New Smyrna coming up?
Yeah, I like all those tracks coming up. New Smyrna is probably my weakest, but yeah, I love all those tracks. I have a win at Martinsville, and I've had good results at Lanier and all the other tracks, so yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Anyone you want to thank for your run tonight?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my team, Total Downforce Racing, Pixel Dust for this amazing paint, JR for the amazing race there, and everybody else that was running with, Lowell for the amazing league, and thank you guys for the amazing broadcast.
Congratulations on the victory tonight, Justin.
Thank you.
Justin Morton takes home the checker flag by 0.7 of a second over Matthew Thunhorst. What a race for him, and what a race for Matt as well. He's standing by with Devin.
Yeah, Matt Thunhorst had quite the show he was able to watch in that third position, able to get around J.R. Shepard, but cannot quite track down Justin Morton. Matt, you put up a great show for everyone, but what else did you need there in that final run to catch up to that 9 and make a move for the win?
I had nothing for Justin. Because how many times did I come through the field? I was... I had about enough of that race at the start there for the first 25 laps or so. So just to be able to come back and even get back to second. I mean, my right rear was so cooked from the spin and just charging so hard that I had nothing left for Justin. It was just hang on to the end because, there was no saving this race. I can tell you that much.
I mean, you saved it pretty well. Second place finish ends up pretty dang good for all the adversity that you went through today here at Myrtle Beach. But we were talking to Justin, and he said that over Discord you guys were talking, and you told him that he wasn't running JR hard enough there at the tail end of that race. What else was going on in that Discord, maybe in those closing laps after you guys got by JR?
Well, I was just giving him some trouble because I was going, come on, man, you can ride that white line down in 3 and 4. You're giving him about a quarter car width too much. And, and finally towards the end there, when he finally did make the pass, he started running him a little bit tighter, and then he's made it work. So it's just like, come on, man. You got this. And he did. And then after that, it was just I got past JR, and then it was just hanging on for dear life because I'd sit there and I feel like I'd gain a little bit, and then I'd get a little too happy on the throttle, and my right rear was already telling me I wanted a day off. So I get it, and then I'd lose it, and then I get some back, and then, so a frustrating day again, but, we had a good result this time. So, I mean, I may not got on the win, but hey, in this league, when you can sit there and beat JR, that's a pretty good night, you know what I mean?
Well, I'd say you put on a show from coming from the back, going to the front. You had a lot of issues tonight, but made it all work, coming home on the podium. Who'd you have to thank for the second place finish here tonight at Myrtle Beach?
Lowell with the league, Justin heard quite a bit about how I felt about things tonight, where I was just sitting there and being my usual goofy self in the Discord. So shout out to him. It's always fun sitting there doing these with him, and, you all for sitting there and bringing this to the public. And, it's kind of fun putting on the show. It's just would have been nice to get a win, but I can't complain at all with second. You know what I mean?
Hey, well, plenty more chances this year. You've been fast, and I think today you certainly showed off some of that speed, even on some pretty hot tires. Matt, congratulations, man, on the second place finish. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Devin.
Matt Dunhorst coming home in the second position. He put on a show from the front to the back, to the front to the back, back to the front here today at Myrtle Beach. Well, Justin's now caught up with your third place driver. It's J.R. Shepard.
And JR, you had to fight hard on the bottom of the racetrack. Talk us through that fight where you were side by side for 15-20 laps for the race lead.
It's just frustrating being in the wrong line. Not much you can do down there. You can get a run going in, but can't really get your car to rotate. And I was trying to give Justin all the room I could. I didn't want any contact to be made, and I hear that they wanted to pinch me down, so that makes me wish I'd moved up a little bit. But just wanting to run clean, and you just cannot get your car to rotate on the bottom. So the longer you run down there underneath somebody, you're just killing that right rear tire trying to get the car to turn.
Yeah, it seemed like a tough racetrack tonight. And how overall would you describe how this night went overall for you, with you having to scratch and claw your way through the traffic in several side-by-side battles throughout the night, it seemed, especially once the attrition broke up on top of that lead battle?
Yeah, I didn't like seeing all the cautions early on, and there was one restart where the outside line just did not go, and unfortunately just lost too many positions. This is one of those tracks where you definitely want some track position. The harder you have to race people coming through the field, the worse it's going to be. And you might be able to go from the back and get up to the top 5 fairly easy, depending on what's going on. But when you're racing those guys that are up front and fast, it's really hard to keep control of your tires. So it's just one of those deals. Congratulations to Justin. He deserved to win that. And I said last week he was the guy to beat here, and he got the track position and kept it.
How do you feel Lanier's going to go? That's the next race up on the calendar.
It's a tough track for sure. I've kind of had mixed results there in the past, so we'll just have to see what we can do, and probably start working with our teammate a little more closely based on what went on tonight. But we'll work together and see what we can make happen.
Anyone you want to thank for your run tonight?
Yeah, just really appreciate everything that the Bootleg Racing League does for us, for giving us the opportunity to have a good place to run each and every week. Thanks to my team, Different Path Motorsports, and to everything you guys do at GSRC. We really appreciate it. And just want to shout out to Steven Spees, weird accident that we had in turn 3 there, and I don't think either one of us is sure what happened there, but I hate that I was involved in it because that's not what I wanted to have happen, so apologize to him.
Congratulations on the run tonight.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
J.R. Shepard rounds out your top 3. I'd like to thank him, along with Justin Morton and Matthew Thunhorse, for taking the time to speak with us during post-race coverage here. Your thoughts, the final thoughts, rather, from you, Devin.
There's a reason why this track shouldn't have been shut down, and it's that reason right there. If you like that in the sim world, man, that would have been great to see out in the physical world. Just some fun racing action, not just for the drivers in the race, like I think we heard all of them were having pretty much a good time, but for everyone watching, you and me, Justin, I know that we had a good time tonight. So, boy, a fun one here from Myrtle Beach. Looking forward to the rest of the season as we come down to the closing races. Final chances to make any statements, make any moves to jump up in the points. And Justin Morton came into tonight 30 points behind James Lowe as a part-time driver. He's now in the top 3 in points. I know that's still a lot of gap to make up on, James, but a great season for Justin Morton, only running part-time. And congratulations to our GSRC hard charger. Technically, it's Adam Shane, who started dead last, went all the way up through the field, had to go back and finish in 8th. And Matt Thunhorse had himself almost the exact same kind of day. So 2 drivers there who are definitely both deserving of a GSRC hard charger award tonight at Myrtle Beach.
Absolutely. It was an impressive race, to say the very least. For all the competitors here in the Bootleg Racing League, I'd like to thank you for tuning in for tonight's exciting action, meanwhile, from Myrtle Beach. We'd also like to thank the BRL for organizing this exciting series. We'd also like to thank the companies who provide the software and hardware for broadcasts listed up on screen. With additional thanks to Jude Law, who provides wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team tonight in Devin and Ryan. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at Global SimRacing Channel.com. If you'd like to help support the channel, you can check our merchandise for sale at gsrc.stormvy.com or check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget to head over to YouTube page, hit that big red subscribe button as well as the notification bell so you don't miss a moment here in the Global SimRacing Channel. The next race, as talked about, goes to Lanier to the Raceplex, which should be a competitive one. Be sure to tune in on Saturday, May the 22nd. Green flag scheduled for approximately 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Coverage will start at 8:50 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on screen, so be sure to check those out and mark them down in your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.